Hi guys, in this video we're going to be looking at these Land of the Lost figures from Joy Toy.
Scruffy Crow.
So this box just arrived. I've kind of rebuilt it a bit as it came sort of folded over. That's fine, I didn't buy it for the box. The art is surprisingly cool. So these are from AliExpress and they're basically knockoffs. I don't know much about all of the minis they're knocking off. But I believe some of these are from Dust, and then this thing's straight up a 40k Dreadnought. So what I'm hoping to do with these is I'm hoping to build up a couple of lights to go with my existing force to finish that off, but also start a second force of a couple of heavies and a couple of lights to have a second faction that I can use in sort of demo games and lend to people, so we can get some games of Gamma Wolves underway. These are apparently 135, but I don't think scale's really going to matter. So here we are. I have heard that some people have just been getting these in bags. As I said, the box came all folded, so it doesn't make much difference. We should have 2 of everything. Let's see if we can figure out that. So that's 2 of the bigger ones. Some of them aren't quite small. It's 2 of those, and they match. So here they are, the separate bags. First bag, let's have a look at. This is the Knockoff Dreadnought. Now I actually don't own a 40k Dread to compare this to, so I can't give you an idea of size. They're a little bit less detailed than I was expecting. I was expecting, for some reason, a hard plastic kit. This is like, this is much more like that sort of rustic stuff that you get from the likes of Privateer Press and Mantic. It's kind of got a little bit of rubbery texture to it. There's a very specific way these go together. All the pegs are different sizes, but obviously you could fix that and glue them. But there we go. There's a little knockoff Dreadnought with some sort of big cannon arm. It's even got a fake sort of storm bolter under there. Very much sort of, yeah, knockoff 40k. There's a cow on this side. Oh, I quite like these little gothic details. But as you can see, sort of from here, maybe it's this kind of sort of slightly flexible rubbery material that it's made out of. It's really weird. You've got a contrast of some quite good little details. Things like this front bit here, which where the details are not so nice. It's about this point I probably should talk about price a little bit. I think these cost me less than £9 posted for all of this, along with the fact that it was a cheap listing, and I had some, you know, AliExpress. If you go on there occasionally, they give you like weird, like £2 off randomly. So it piled up all the little discounts. I ended up getting them pretty cheap. So these models are costing, you know, less than £1 each, because there should be 12, I think, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 of them. So yeah, bear in mind while we're looking at these that they are costing less than £1 each. So this is possibly one of the guys that I was thinking about putting in my little crew. Once again, we've got some quite nice detail on these little legs, but the main body seems to be lacking a little bit. He's armed with a grenade launcher on one side and a little Gatling cannon on the other, which is kind of cool. I suppose it could be a shotgun. His arms and legs are on ball joints this time, which makes him quite poseable. He stands up by himself. I've gone and grabbed a couple of bases. So these are 100s, which is what I'm using for my mediums, and these are 50s, which I'm using for my lights. And this guy, he sits on the 50 just fine. He fills the whole thing. So actually he's a really good light size. This guy has got another more than a nod to 40k. It's got a little Imperial Aquila on the front. But other than that, I really like the design of this one. It's kind of chunky and square. It's a bit more robotic. It's got very similar legs to the last one. Because of the slightly rubbery plastic as well, these ball joints I think are going to be quite forgiving. So this guy has got like a bare hand and a rocket launcher. And once again, we'll put this guy together, no cleanup. So I've not removed any of the mold lines or anything. Might be easy to get them together. Done a little bit of cleanup on these joints. And he fits on a 50mm base really quite nicely, fills that out. I said you could do a lot better job putting these guys together once you clean them up and everything, but they actually don't need any glue or anything. Just to get them to one piece, so we've seen that one. And so this is a third one with very much the same design. Oh, I like this one more though, because the weapon is double-handed. And once again, the legs are roughly the same. The first one they were kind of squared off. These ones are completely rounded, and these are rounded with the some little accents on. But the rest of the leg is basically the same design. So I take from that I mean, at least definitely with a bit of work, but probably straight off, all of these legs and arms are interchangeable on these smaller ones. So yeah, that's quite a nice little variety of light mechs. And obviously the things like the Imperial Aquila and any other bits can be filed off or added. But yeah, I think they're more than serviceable. I'm a fan of those. Next up we have the slightly larger one, I think. I think this can be at least a different design. And look at these. These little plugs, they remind me of Proactive Press Minis quite a lot. There's some rockets here. They'll be quite good for Gamma Wolves as anti-tank missiles. Just a generic sort of gun on there. And just some, I don't know, bits and pieces for the top here. And actually he is another contender for a light. He definitely fills out a 50mm base quite well. And I think my second faction that I'm going to do as my sort of quick lone faction is going to be a Soviet one. This guy's already got some little stars on his hull here, and he's kind of got that sort of clanker look that I quite like. He's definitely no medium, so yeah, that's another light. But he is chunkier than the other lights that we've got. So this is the last one. And we've got a couple of different materials here. So the hull is more of a hard plastic, like a standard model kit. And so are like a couple of other bits maybe. But then these, well, like that is. Then the legs are the same sort of rubbery, rustic plastic stuff from the others. Let's see if we can figure out this guy as well. Okay, so we're definitely going to want a spot of glue to hold this one together. But I think he's not huge, but if we compare him to the size of the lighter mech that I was going to use for my little sort of Soviet force, he is twice the size. And although he doesn't absolutely dominate this sort of 100mm base, I think he at least fills it fairly well for a £1 model. This is my Technolog T-Rex, who'll be getting a video soon, who is a fair chunk bigger, but not ridiculously big. You could believe they were both medium mechs. I think. So, yeah, he's definitely in the force. Okay, so I've been having a good old play around, and I've just built these guys just straight up. I'm guessing I'm just going to count these as, I don't know, energy weapons maybe, and then these as sort of anti-tank missiles. So that's a primary and a secondary. So these guys are just fine. I'll whack some sand on these and we can slap some paint on. With the other guys, these are the legs that they come with that you saw, and that's how they end up. And I think that's pretty cool. That's nice. But as I said, they're not really dominating these 100mm bases. Now, in my last video, you might have seen these. These are the Pumas from Technolog. The cockpits aren't really worth much. They're a bit too open, and it takes a lot of work to close that in and make that look decent. And they sit on these nice big legs. And they're the same legs that are used on the Werewolf as well. Just a different colour, weirdly enough. I did wonder what it'd look like if we put these legs and that body together, and you actually end up with this. Now, I think that works. I think there's enough detail in this top bit, and it's got enough size to sort of justify these slightly larger legs. The legs actually aren't that much larger. They're just more posable, which means we can get that little bit more height. And I'm not entirely convinced by these big clumpy shoe sled things we've got going on here. So I think these might be the way forward. Okay, so I've got one guy mostly complete now. I've found these weapons off the Technolog kit, and I'm going to use these as rapid fire energy weapons. And I think they fit fairly well aesthetically. And for the connections, if you look in there, I've used the connection off the other gun. This is how it would have been. And I've just sliced that off and stuck it on there. So I'm going to do the same. I've got another one of those guns. I like my two medium mechs to be matching. So I've built him up the rest of the way with the other gun on the other side, the floodlight and everything. So what I'm going to do is I tried a few things. I actually broke a razor blade trying to get that off there neatly. So I actually ended up resorting with these snips. Now, these are quite nice and sharp, and I'm getting as deep as I can. I'm probably not going to be using the rest of this gun for anything, so I'm not too worried about digging into that too much. So there it is, there's the bracket off. Just straighten that back out. Then I'm going to take my knife and just flatten up the back of this. Now the other marks we've made while cutting that off, we can sort of green stuff back out. Did I glue this in? No. So once that's relaxed in, a few of them will go away anyway. But what I'll be able to do is just put a bit of green stuff on the sides of there, sort of flatten that in, and it'll look like one piece. The same with the top. On the main gun, these little arms go all the way across the top. On this it won't, but I'll just draw some lines just straight into the top there, and sort of merge it into the bottom a little bit. And I think rules wise these guys are going to be armed with shot cannons, rapid fire energy weapons, and rocket launchers on the top. And then these guys will have anti-tank missiles and rifles. So I think that might be a cool little combo for lights. So to that end, I scoured Thingiverse for some missile launchers, and we've got a couple of options here. These ones are cool, they're quite long. We've got these stumpier little rocket tubes. I'm actually a bit torn about which one of these to take. I think one makes the model look a bit too busy, and it's maybe not as obvious that these are rockets, whereas these are quite obviously just rocket tubes. I think we'll get these ones the rest of the way cleaned up, and I'll probably use these. I think that gives them that kind of low-tech look a bit more as well. I'll stick these in the bits box though, I'm sure they'll get used for something. And the little rocket pods I've chosen are fairly easily attached. They already had some little holes in, so I've just put a little bit of 2mm rod. It's a bit loose, but it'll do. And then I've just got a 2mm drill bit. It's dead easy to find the centre of these, because we've got ridges, so it's the centre ridge, and then on the seam, and there we go. You can't actually see the connection. It's kind of what we want. Because we've got it in the middle, we're all nice and symmetrical. So I'm going to go around the 4 of these now, and I'm going to just clean up any little mould lines or little blemishes that I can see. For instance, the front of this little gun here, there's a little mark. This rastic stuff does best when you sort of scrape it and slice it, I found. But the file kind of works. But yeah, I'll go around and I'll clean all these up. And then we'll put a bit of sand on the bases. Maybe we've got a few little base elements. Try and add some scale. We've got a bit of this old, which is just 3D printer supports. I've got some little things and a dead cow there. Just try and give some scale and some interest on these bases. I'll not bother so much on the little ones. I decided that I also wanted a third medium out of that box set. So I basically just glued together all the rest of the parts I had available. So these legs are from the kit that these bodies are from, but made it too short. So is that gun. They're the guns that I replaced with the sort of laser blasters. This bit inside here and this backpack are from the smaller sort of dog-headed robots that Technolog sent me. You can check them out in the original video. There's a little engine part in there, and that is from the Puma kits where I got these legs from, as is this whole back armour section. That's actually the sort of undercarriage of those mechs. The arms, actually they're from the dog-headed robots again. This is a 3D printed part that I was looking at for one of my other mechs, but went with something different. So that's on there. That's the body off the sort of Knockoff Dreadnought style mech, but it was too short on here, so that's actually the same body again. So this is like 3 separate parts here, the way it's built. So that's that body. So that's the front there. Can you see that? That is the same as that. So the whole thing's just turned round just to give me this extra height. And I've just hacked the pins off under there. And then yeah, the 2 sets of legs. It's basically what it's built off. Oh, just some machine guns that I bought for playing Gaslands. Don't remember where they're from, if I'm honest. There's barely any green stuff. I threw a bit in there, but only because I had a bit of green stuff hanging around. Mostly just hacking, knives, files, and a lot of super glue. He's actually ended up quite weighty. And he's actually turned out a lot better than I thought he would, given the fact that he is made with no real plan in mind. Just literally gluing parts together to see how it'd look. Okay, so I've got these guys fully undercoated now. This is just Halford's Grey spray all over. And I love the stage. They go from sort of models made out of all sorts of bits to one complete figure. And yeah, I think they're looking absolutely fantastic. I've also started the other ones, so these got the same undercoat. And then I've just been going around with a big brush. Big old makeup brush. And I've done the Frankenstein one as well. And this is some Deathworld Forest. I'm going to just do a really quick paint job on these guys, and what I'm aiming for is a kind of World War II American sort of look. So I've got some star transfers I might try and throw on there, and I'm just going to use my sort of basic tank painting guide. So I'm going to use this. I'm going to give it a wash of Earthshade, then I'll re-highlight with this, and then I'll probably use like a mixture of sort of this and a lighter colour to do a top highlight, and then we'll do some weathering. That's pretty much where we're going to leave it. So as I said, pretty straightforward stuff just to get these table ready. Okay, so like I always do, I went over the top on the transfers, just using a Pringles lid to work them in. So we've got star and a number on each of the larger ones. I didn't bother with the smaller ones because they've got stripes that were just painted yellow and stars that were already sort of raised off the surface. And then on these ones, we've got the stars. They're still a bit glossy at the moment, but a quick wipe over with some Lamium medium should sort that out in a second. And then I've painted in some details up here as well. And then they got a number. And then, because I wanted to try out these nail art transfers that I actually bought for my Ronin crew, they're off eBay, they're only £1 or so. I tried some of these out on these guys first, and I'm really impressed with them. They didn't need a white background, I thought they would. And I've used some of the names from some bolt action transfers. So we have Juno over here, and Andrea over here. So I'm going to wait for all of these transfers to completely dry, and then I'll finish up with the weathering. Okay, I think I'm pretty much done with these guys now. So I've gone around with some pig iron, and anywhere where we had a bunch of black bits, I've just put some speckles of the pig iron in, or any scrapes like there, any large patches like this, just to try and add to that weathering, give it some wear. I sort of painted in all the little yellow bits. I've also gone around and done these cables down here in blue, and then I've tried to do a sort of glow effect almost on these guns and on the lights. I followed that across onto these guys as well, little blue lights on the front. And yeah, and I filled in any of the metal parts, so like this gun here and some of the bits and pieces. I've just sort of dry brushed some metal on there. We could spend a lot more time on these models, especially these two. I'm really happy with the way they came out. I could definitely spend a lot more time sort of fine-tuning the paint jobs and putting some more details in. But I don't think they really need it. I said they are definitely tabletop ready now, as far as the model's concerned. So I'm just going to neaten up the bases a bit, and we'll end the video. Okay, I've done a little sprint to the finish, and that's all I'm going to do with the bases. As I said, I've given them a bit of a highlight so you can see the texture, and thrown some of these old grass tufts that I'm not really using on there. I've done a bit of black wash around some of the concretey bits, just to bring them out. I have painted up some of these little base elements, but once again, just a couple of colours and a wash. I might do something more interesting with the bases down the line. But yeah, there we have a whole second faction for a very cheap price with the Land of the Lost stuff. Obviously, if you've only got the Land of the Lost stuff, you wouldn't be able to build these the way I've built them. But they were okay on those legs. They'd still be perfectly good mediums for me, I think. I just had the opportunity to put them on the bigger ones. The lights, more than good enough. And if you were doing a smaller scale, you could even use these as mediums. You know, if you're going to have like a human-sized guy as a light. So I'm really happy with the way these have come out. As I said, it's been a pretty rough and ready paint job, but I think more than tabletop ready already. So and it's also made me a little bit less nervous about painting my ones for my main Ronin faction. Talking about my main Ronin faction, I did paint up one of the Land of the Lost lights as a light for that. I'm going to call him El Chupacabra, because then all my Ronin force are going to be named after like cryptids or mythical creatures and things. And just, yeah, as soon as I saw he had a little smiley face, I decided to do him like this, with the little head on fire and everything. I'm really happy with the way he's come out. I mean, for such cheap minis, as I said, they're quite flexible and stuff. They actually have a reasonable amount of detail. Yeah, and I'm really happy with that. I said, once again, probably not the best paint job I could have managed, but more than serviceable to try the game out. So, in summary, are these the best minis in the world? Not at all. They are sort of fairly low detail. They're a weird rubbery plastic, hard to clean up, and they're essentially knockoff designs. On the other hand, it's very cheap to pick up a box of this, and that'll get you playing Gamma Wolves straight away. So overall, I probably do recommend them. And that's all for this video. Please let me know what you thought down in the comments. Maybe subscribe for more. And as ever, thanks for watching. Bye.